That cabin in the Colorado mountains was supposed to be my sanctuary. My grandmother built it with her own hands back in the 70s, and when Mom passed away 12 years ago, she left it to me in her will. It was the only thing I had left of her. Every wooden beam, every creaky floorboard, every sunrise through those pine trees held her memory. My father remarried a woman named Diane 3 years after Mom died, and she came with twin sons Brandon and Tyler. I never imagined my father would hand them the key to my most sacred place for a party that would end with police sirens echoing through those mountains. Before I dive into what happened that weekend, I would love to know, where are you watching from? Drop your state or country in the comments below. If you have ever dealt with family drama or felt like someone crossed a line with something precious to you, hit that like button. Trust me, you will want to subscribe, because this story takes turns I never saw coming. All right, let me take you back to 3 months ago, when I got the phone call that changed everything. I am Hayden, 30 years old, working as a graphic designer in Denver. My life is pretty straightforward. Small apartment in Capitol Hill. A job I do not hate. A routine that keeps me sane. I stopped dating seriously after my last relationship crashed 2 years back. So most evenings you would find me sketching at my desk or heading to the climbing gym. The cabin became my monthly escape. Every 4 weeks I would pack my truck and drive the 2.5 hours into the mountains, spending weekends repairing things, sitting on the porch with coffee, reading Mom's old journals. It was the only place I could still feel close to her. My relationship with Dad had become cordial at best after he married Diane. I understood grief makes people do strange things, but 3 years felt fast to me. Too fast. Diane was pleasant enough on the surface, always smiling at family dinners, asking about my work with what felt like rehearsed interest. But there was something behind her eyes that never quite reached warm. Her sons Brandon and Tyler were 21 juniors at the University of Colorado Boulder. They belonged to some fraternity I could never remember the name of, lots of Greek letters and stories about parties that made me grateful I had already graduated before they arrived in the family. We barely spoke beyond awkward small talk at Thanksgiving. That Friday afternoon I was deep into designing a logo for a microbrewery client when my phone buzzed. Dad's name on the screen made me pause. He rarely called during work hours. Rarely called at all, honestly. "Hey, Dad," I answered, saving my work file. "Hayden, how is my son?" His voice carried that overly cheerful tone he used when he wanted something. My stomach tightened. "Busy. Working." "What is going on?" Nothing. Just checking in." "How is work treating you?" He asked about my projects, my apartment, whether I was eating enough vegetables. Small talk that felt like walking through a minefield. Then came the pivot. "So Brandon and Tyler mentioned they want to go camping this weekend. I remembered you have that cabin up in the mountains. Are you planning to use it?" The question landed like a stone in my chest. "Actually, I am heading up there tomorrow morning. I need to fix the gutter before winter and check the furnace." Silence. Then, "Oh, well, the thing is, I already told them they could use it." My hand tightened around the phone. "You, what?" It was just sitting empty, and they really wanted to get away from campus for a night. You know how stressful college can be. I figured it would not be a problem. His tone had shifted from cheerful to defensive. "It is just for one night, Hayden. Just them and a few friends. A small gathering." I could feel the familiar pattern, Dad making decisions about my life, my property without asking, just assuming. The cabin was in my name. Mom had made sure of that in the will. But somehow Dad still treated it like family property he could distribute at will. "Dad, that place means everything to me. You should have asked first. Your mother would want you to share, son." The guilt card. Classic. It is just sitting there empty most of the time anyway. "The boys are responsible. It will be fine." I wanted to say no. I wanted to tell him about boundaries and respect, and how grief does not have an expiration date. Instead, I heard myself saying, "Fine. But tell them to keep it clean. That place means everything to me. Of course. I will make sure they respect it. Thank you, Hayden." This means a lot to the boys. He hung up before I could change my mind. I sat there staring at my computer screen logo half-finished, feeling that familiar hollow sensation, like I had just given away something I could not get back. I texted Dad the address, the instructions for the lockbox reminders about turning off the water main if they left. He responded with a thumbs-up emoji. That was it. Saturday morning arrived with pale sunlight through my apartment windows. I was pouring my second cup of coffee, contemplating whether to hit the gym or work on personal projects when my phone rang. Unknown number. Local area code from the mountains. Hello, Hayden dear. This is Margaret Patterson. From next to your cabin. Her voice wavered with concern. Mrs. Patterson was 72, lived in the property adjacent to mine year-round, kept an eye on my place when I was not there. We had shared countless conversations over her fence, about weather patterns and wildlife. Mrs. Patterson, hi. Is everything okay? Well, I do not want to alarm you, but there are quite a lot of cars at your cabin right now. I counted at least 8 vehicles, maybe more. And there is a U-Haul truck parked in your driveway blocking the garage. My coffee cup stopped halfway to my mouth. A U-Haul. How many people are we talking about? Oh, honey. At least 15 that I have seen. Maybe more inside. I heard loud music last night around 11 o'clock. Woke me right up. And this morning I saw young people carrying coolers and what looked like those beer keg things. They have been setting up tents in your backyard. The coffee went cold in my hand. Tents, beer kegs I would not have called, but it just seemed like more than a few friends camping. I hope I am not overstepping. No, Mrs. Patterson, thank you. Thank you for calling. I will handle this. All right, dear. I hope everything is okay. I hung up and immediately dialed Dad. Straight to voicemail. Called again. Voicemail. I sent 3 texts. Dad, what the hell is going on, Mrs. Patterson said there is a party at MY cabin. No response. I tried Brandon's number voicemail. Tyler's phone went straight to that generic recording. Neither of them bothered to set up their voicemail properly, apparently. My hands were shaking as I grabbed my keys. 2.5 hours of driving stretched ahead of me, and every minute felt like something else in that cabin might break. I threw on jeans and a hoodie, locked my apartment, and hit the road. The drive up Interstate 25 usually calmed me, watching Denver's sprawl give way to foothills, then proper mountains. Not today. Today every mile felt like driving toward a disaster I should have prevented. My mind kept cycling through worst-case scenarios. Broken furniture, damaged walls. What if someone got hurt and sued me? What if they found Mom's room, the one I kept locked with her belongings inside, the wedding photos, her jewelry, the quilt she sewed by hand? I pushed the accelerator harder, weaving through Saturday. Traffic, ignoring the speed limit on the mountain passes. By the time I turned onto the dirt road leading to my property, my knuckles were white on the steering wheel. Every mile closer to that cabin, my gut twisted tighter. I had no idea I was driving straight into a war zone. The first thing I saw was the cars. 8 vehicles scattered across my property, like someone had just abandoned them wherever they stopped. A Jeep with oversized tires blocked the path to my woodshed. 2 sedans sat at angles in the grass tire tracks, cutting through what used to be a decent lawn. And there, like a massive middle finger to my entire existence, a white U-Haul truck completely blocked the garage entrance. I parked my truck on the road and walked up. Beer cans littered the driveway. Red Solo cups crushed into the dirt. A Bluetooth speaker still played music from somewhere in the backyard, some bass-heavy rap that made my teeth hurt. The smell hit me next, stale beer, marijuana, and something else I could not identify. Maybe vomit. 3 tents had been erected in my backyard, the kind you buy at a sporting goods store for $50. Cheap nylon in bright colors. One had collapsed, partially fabric flapping in the morning breeze. Someone had tried to build a fire pit using my landscaping stones, leaving a scorched circle in the grass. Empty liquor bottles stood like sentries around it. The front door was wide open. I stepped inside and felt my heart drop into my stomach. Mom's sofa, The one she had reupholstered herself in soft blue fabric had a massive beer stain across one cushion. The coffee table was buried under pizza boxes, more beer cans, ashtrays overflowing with cigarette butts and joint remnants. Picture frames on the wall hung crooked. One had fallen the glass, shattered across the floor. It was a photo of Mom and Dad on their wedding day, her smile bright and genuine. The frame's corner had dented the hardwood. 3 guys I had never seen before were passed out on my living room floor. One sprawled across Mom's antique rug, drooling. Another had his head under the coffee table, like he had crawled there for shelter. The third snored on the couch, shoes still on mud tracked across the cushions. I moved through the kitchen. Every surface was covered. Pizza boxes stacked to the ceiling. Beer bottles lined up like soldiers on the counter. The sink overflowed with red cups. Someone had tried to cook something on the stove. A pan with burned scrambled eggs sat on a cold burner. The trash can had overflowed hours ago, garbage spilling across the floor. The refrigerator door stood open, humming weakly interior light, illuminating spilled beer pooling on the shelf. Then I saw the wall. Someone had punched a hole clean through the drywall near the hallway. Knuckle-sized crater, the edges ragged. I stared at it, feeling something crack inside my chest. I forced myself down the hallway toward the bedrooms. My room, the one I slept in during visits, had 2 girls passed out across my bed. They were strangers, fully clothed at least, but the sheets reeked of alcohol and perfume. My dresser drawers hung open, someone having gone through my things. A bottle of bourbon sat on my nightstand half empty. But the worst was Mom's room. The room I kept exactly as she left it. The door, which I always kept locked, stood open. The key I hid above the frame was gone. I stepped inside and felt my knees weaken. The window was shattered. Completely broken glass shards scattered across the floor and the bed. Cold mountain air poured through the opening. Curtains Mom had sewn herself flapped in the breeze. Her quilt, the one she spent 2 years hand-stitching a pattern of blue and yellow squares, lay crumpled on the floor, covered in muddy footprints and what looked like spilled salsa. One corner was torn. I knelt down and picked up the quilt with shaking hands. The fabric was cold, damp in places. A piece of broken glass clung to one square. This quilt had covered my bed when I was sick. As a kid, Mom would tuck it around me, sit on the edge, read until I fell asleep. She finished it the year before she died. It was supposed to last forever. I could not breathe. The room blurred. I pressed the quilt to my face and smelled mildew instead of her lavender detergent. Something inside me broke clean in half. I needed to find Brandon and Tyler. Now, I walked through the cabin and out the back door, still clutching a corner of the ruined quilt. The backyard was worse than the front. More tents, more garbage. A kiddie pool someone had filled with ice and beer bottles. The fire pit smoldered, sending up thin smoke. And there they were, Brandon and Tyler standing near a portable grill, laughing with a group of 8 other people. Brandon was flipping burgers like this was some casual Sunday barbecue. Tyler held a beer, gesturing wildly while telling some story that had everyone cracking up. They saw me approaching. Brandon's smile faltered. Tyler kept grinning. "What the hell is this?" My voice came out low, dangerous. "Oh, hey, Hayden." Brandon set down the spatula. Surprise. Surprise. You told my dad it was a few friends." "There are 15 people here," Tyler shrugged, taking a sip of his beer. "It is not a big deal, man. We are just having fun." "Not a big deal." I held up the corner of the quilt. "There is a hole in my wall. My mother's quilt is ruined." "You broke her window." Brandon's face finally showed something resembling guilt. "The hole was an accident. Someone got too drunk. And you brought alcohol here. This is my property. If someone gets hurt, I am liable." My voice was rising. People were starting to stare. Tyler's jaw set. "Your dad said we could use it. Maybe you should talk to him." "My dad does not own this cabin." "I do, and I want everyone out. Right now. Come on, dude. Tyler gestured around. We drove all the way up here. Just let us finish today. We will clean everything up. Promise. Like you cleaned up my mother's room, I stepped closer. Get out. Now. One of the guys standing near Tyler, a tall, muscular type, with a backwards baseball cap, stepped forward. Hey man, chill out. We are not bothering anyone. You are bothering me. This is private property. Your stepmom said it was cool. The guy Kyle, someone called him, crossed his arms. We rented the U-Haul for the whole weekend. We are not leaving. Brandon tried to intervene. Hayden, seriously, we will clean up. We can fix this. Fix this. You cannot fix my mother's quilt. You cannot fix 12 years of memories you just trashed for cheap beer and a party. Tyler rolled his eyes. Dude, you are being dramatic. It is just a cabin. Just a cabin. Those 3 words. That was the moment I realized they would never understand, would never care. This was entertainment to them. A free party venue. Nothing sacred. Nothing valuable beyond their own good time. I am calling the police. I pulled out my phone. What? Brandon's eyes went wide. You cannot be serious. Watch me. I turned and walked back toward the front of the property phone, already dialing 911. Behind me, Tyler shouted something, but I did not turn around. I was done talking. Then I heard it. A crash from inside the cabin. The sound of something heavy breaking. I ran. Through the back door. Down the hallway toward the stairs that led to the basement. The basement door stood open. I always kept it locked. Always. That was where I stored everything too precious to leave in Mom's room. Photo albums, her jewelry, boxes of letters, my grandparents' belongings. 2 guys I had never seen before were down there surrounded by open boxes. One was holding Mom's photo album, the one with pictures from her childhood, through my birth. The other was trying on jewelry. Mom's wedding ring on his pinky, her sapphire necklace around his neck like some kind of costume. They were laughing. Dude, check this out. Vintage stuff. We could sell this. Everything went white. Not red. White. Pure, blank rage that made my ears ring. Put that down. I do not remember moving down the stairs, but suddenly I was there. Reaching for the photo album. The guy holding it, drunk, unsteady, jerked back. Whoa, chill out, man. That was my mother's. I grabbed for the album again. He stumbled backward, knocking into a shelf. The other guy, still wearing Mom's necklace, put his hands up. All right. All right. We were just looking. Just looking. You are trying to steal from me. The first guy, defensive, now shoved me. Not hard, but I was not expecting it. My foot caught on a cardboard box, and I went down, elbow slamming into the corner of an old desk. Pain shot up my arm. Not serious. Not broken. But it added fuel to the fire burning in my chest. I looked up at them from the floor. Really looked at them. Drunk. Entitled. Standing in my basement, surrounded by everything I had left of the person who mattered most, treating it like a thrift store they could raid for laughs. Jewelry scattered across the concrete floor. The photo album lay open, pages crinkled. I could see a picture of Mom holding me as a baby, her smile so wide it looked like it could light up the world. One page had torn down the middle. I stood up slowly. My hands were shaking. That was my mother's wedding ring. She wore it. Until the day she died. The guy wearing the necklace had the decency to look uncomfortable. He took it off, set it on a box. Look, man, we did not know. His friend, still drunk, still stupid, laughed. Bro, relax. It is just old stuff. Just old stuff. I looked at these 2 strangers standing in my mother's memory, reducing her entire existence to just old stuff, and something calcified inside me. Something hard and final. I pulled out my phone. Get out of my house. They stumbled up the stairs, making excuses, trying to apologize through their drunken haze. I did not listen. I carefully gathered the jewelry piece by piece. The wedding ring, a simple gold band, worn thin from decades of wear. The sapphire necklace my grandfather gave her on her 40th birthday. Earrings. A bracelet. I put them in a small wooden box that had somehow stayed closed, and I carried it upstairs. I walked outside. Dialed 911. 911. What is your emergency? My voice came out steady, calm, cold. I need police at my property. There are trespassers who refuse to leave, and they have caused significant damage. Some are intoxicated and have been going through my personal belongings. I gave the address, answered the dispatcher's questions. Yes, I was the property owner. No, I did not give permission for this gathering. Yes, someone had assaulted me minor, but still assault. No, I was not injured seriously. Officers are on the way. Stay outside and do not engage further. Thank you. I hung up. Brandon was running toward me. Did you just call the cops? Yes. Dude, that is messed up. You are going to get us arrested. I looked at him. Really looked at him. 21 years old. Probably never faced a real consequence in his life. You broke into my basement. You went through my dead mother's belongings. Your friend assaulted me. What did you think would happen? Tyler appeared. Face red. We will leave right now. Okay. Just call them back. Too late. Panic rippled through the group. The guy with the weed started frantically dumping it in the trees. Kyle and his friends began throwing bags into cars, moving with sudden urgency. Brandon and Tyler stood frozen, looking at each other like they had just realized this was not a game anymore. 25 minutes later, 2 sheriff's vehicles rolled up the dirt road, light bars flashing. 3 officers emerged. The lead one, a woman in her 40s with steel gray hair pulled back tight, surveyed the scene with practiced eyes. Who is the property owner? I am. I walked over. Hayden Morrison. This is my cabin. Officer Martinez listened to everything. I pulled up the property deed on my phone, showed her the documentation proving sole ownership, explained how my father gave permission without asking me, how a few friends became 15 people, how I found my mother's belongings ransacked in a locked basement. Officer Thompson, a younger guy with a shaved head, walked through the cabin with a camera documenting everything. The broken window, the hole in the wall, the beer cans and liquor bottles scattered everywhere, the shattered picture frame, the basement in complete disarray. Officer Davis, the 3rd officer, checked IDs. 5 people were under 21. 5 college kids drinking illegally on my property. That added an entirely new dimension to the problem. I watched from the porch as Officer Martinez talked to Brandon and Tyler. I could not hear everything, but I saw Brandon's face go pale, saw Tyler's cocky attitude drain away when she asked direct questions. Your father gave you permission to use this property? Yeah. He said it was cool. Does your father own this property? Silence. No. Then you were trespassing. Tyler tried to argue. We did not know it would be a big deal. We thought. What you thought does not matter. What matters is the law. Officer Martinez's voice carried across the yard. You were told to limit your gathering. You brought alcohol. You allowed minors to drink. You caused property damage. Someone went through personal belongings and assaulted the property owner. I watched Officer Davis cite the 5 underage drinkers. Each one received a ticket for minor in possession. Kyle got a citation for disorderly conduct after he gave the officer's attitude. The 2 guys from the basement, Justin and Marcus the first, I learned their names from their IDs, received citations for trespassing, and were told I had the right to press charges for assault. Officer Martinez walked back to me. Mr. Morrison, you have several options here. You can file formal charges against the individuals who entered your basement and caused damage. You can pursue a civil suit for property damages. Given the evidence, you have a strong case. I want to press charges against Justin and Marcus. And I want Brandon and Tyler to pay for every cent of damage to this property. Understood. You will need to come to the station this week to file a formal report. We will photograph everything for evidence. Do you want these people removed from your property now? Yes. She nodded. Everyone pack up. You are leaving. Now. It took an hour. Brandon and Tyler's friends moved like zombies, taking down tents, loading cars, avoiding eye contact. The U-Haul backed out slowly, scraping against a tree on the way. Kyle shot me a glare as he drove past. I did not care. And then my father's car pulled up. Dad and Diane climbed out, faces tight with anger. Dad marched straight to me. Hayden, what have you done? You called the police on your own brothers. I felt nothing. No guilt. No doubt. Just cold clarity. They are not my brothers. And they destroyed Mom's things. Diane's voice went shrill. Boys will be boys. It is just a little mess. A little mess. I held up my phone, showing her the photo Officer Thompson took of the broken window in Mom's room. They broke into the room where I keep my mother's belongings. They were trying to sell her jewelry. Dad's face shifted. I am sure it was a misunderstanding. No. I cut him off. You dismissed my boundaries. You gave away access to my property. Without truly asking. You prioritized your new family over respecting Mom's memory. Officer Martinez stepped closer. Sir, your son has every right to press charges. This is his property. The damage is extensive, and there was an assault. Dad's anger cracked. Assault? It was an accident. That is for the courts to decide. Officer Martinez said calmly. I looked at my father. Really looked at him. Saw a man who had been running from grief for 12 years, trying to build a new family to replace the hole Mom left. Saw someone who had forgotten that I was still here, still hurting, still needing him to be my father instead of Diane's husband. I have spent years trying to keep peace, I said quietly, trying to be okay with you replacing Mom so fast, trying to accept Diane and her sons. But this crosses every line. Dad opened his mouth, closed it. I am pressing charges against Justin and Marcus. Brandon and Tyler will pay for all damages, every cent. The broken window, the wall repair, replacing what cannot be fixed. I paused. And you need to decide. Are you going to keep enabling them? Or are you going to be my father for once? The words hung in the mountain air. Diane started to argue, but Dad held up his hand. He looked at the cabin, at the police cars, at his stepsons, standing with their heads down at me with tears on my face I had not realized were falling. We will figure out the payment, he said finally. Not an apology, but acknowledgement. Officer Martinez handed me a card. Come to the station Monday. Bring photos, receipts for repairs, anything you need for evidence. I will be there. By 2 p.m, the property was empty except for me. The tents were gone. The cars were gone. The music had stopped. All that remained was the damage and the silence. I stood in front of the cabin looking at the broken window, the trampled grass, the stains on the porch. My phone buzzed. A text from Brandon, I am sorry. I did not think it would get that bad. I will pay you back. I did not respond. Not yet. For the first time in years, I had stood up for myself and for her. The cabin was damaged, but my spine, it had never been stronger. The next 3 days I barely left the property. I cleaned everything. Every beer can, every cigarette butt, every piece of trash. I scrubbed the floors until my hands were raw. I called a carpenter who could come out the following week to fix the wall and the window. He quoted me $1,800 for the window alone, custom-sized double pane for mountain winters. The wall repair another $600. Cleaning services to handle what I could, not another $800. Total cost $3,200. I took pictures of everything. Sent an itemized list to my father, with a payment plan $600 a month for 6 months. He agreed via text. Diane did not text me at all. I filed the formal report on Monday. Officer Martinez walked me through the process. Justin and Marcus accepted a plea deal, 200 hours of community service, each plus $800 restitution split between them. No jail time, but a record. Brandon and Tyler received citations for trespassing and contributing to minor consumption of alcohol. Fines, plus the property damage payments. Some things could be fixed. The window, the wall, the furniture could be cleaned or replaced. But Mom's quilt was beyond repair. I tried. I took it to 3 different textile restoration specialists. They all said the same thing. Too much damage, too much wear, the fabric was degrading. I cut the least damaged squares, pressed them flat, put them in a memory box. 12 squares from a quilt of hundreds. It felt like losing her again. The photo album pages that tore could not be mended. I bought a scanner, spent hours digitally preserving every photo that remained intact, created backups on 3 different hard drives. Some pictures were lost forever, water-damaged, torn edges too damaged to save. Mom's sapphire necklace had a broken chain. I took it to a jeweler who repaired it for $150. It sits now in a safe deposit box at my bank, along with her wedding ring. Too precious to keep at the cabin. Too irreplaceable to risk. The first week after everything happened, I felt hollow. Not angry anymore. Not sad. Just empty. Like something had been scooped out of my chest. I went to work, came home, sat in my apartment staring at walls. My boss asked if I was okay. I said I was. I was not. But by the second week, something shifted. I started feeling lighter, like I had been carrying weight for years and had finally set it down. The weight of trying to be okay with Dad's choices. The weight of pretending Diane's family was mine. The weight of never saying no. Dad texted me on day 9. I am sorry, son. I should have asked you properly. I should have protected what mattered to you. I stared at that text for an hour before responding, thank you. We met for coffee 2 weeks after the incident. A neutral place, a shop in downtown Denver neither of us usually went to. The conversation was hard, painful. He cried. I had not seen my father cry since Mom's funeral. I thought if I made Diane happy, made her boys feel welcome, it would fix things, he said, hands wrapped around a mug he was not drinking from. I thought I could build a new family, and the grief would stop. Grief does not stop, Dad. You just learn to live with it. I know that now. He looked up at me. I failed you. After your mom died, I should have been there. Instead, I ran. It was the most honest conversation we had had in a decade. I did not forgive him. Not yet. But I heard him. We agreed to rebuild slowly. Clear boundaries. No more assumptions. Diane and I have not spoken. Brandon texted me a genuine apology. He mentioned he realized how badly they had messed up, that he was ashamed. I appreciated that. Tyler never apologized. I did not expect him to. Some people never learn. I changed all the locks on the cabin. The new keys are on a ring in my pocket. Only my keys. No one uses that cabin without my explicit written permission now. I had that written into a formal document notarized. If Dad ever tries to give access again, it is trespassing. Simple. I spent the next 6 weekends at the cabin renovating. I repainted Mom's room in soft sage green, her favorite color. I hung the restored photos in new frames. I created a small memorial corner in the living room, her jewelry displayed in a glass case, the quilt squares framed under museum glass, her favorite books on a special shelf. The cabin started to feel like hers again, like ours. I also started therapy. A recommendation from a friend who noticed I was struggling. My therapist helped me process not just the incident, but 12 years of unresolved grief, complicated family dynamics, the guilt I felt for being angry at Dad. It helped more than I expected. And I learned to set boundaries without guilt. That was the biggest change. When Dad invited me to Thanksgiving this year, I said no. Not out of spite. Just because I was not ready. He accepted it. Diane apparently did not. But that was not my problem anymore. I invited my own friends to the cabin. Real friends who respected the space. We spent weekends hiking, cooking meals, sitting around the fire pit telling stories. The cabin filled with new memories, good ones built on top of the old. On what would have been Mom's 57th birthday, I drove up alone. Spent the day reading her letters, dozens she had written to me throughout my childhood, saved in a box I rarely opened. She wrote about hopes for my future, about loving myself, about standing up for what mattered. It felt like she was talking directly to this moment. I sat on the porch as the sun set mountains, turning purple and gold. I thought about everything that happened, the violation, the confrontation, the aftermath, and I realized something. Some people will test your boundaries. Some will trample them completely. You cannot control that, but you can always control whether you let them stay after they have broken your trust. Standing up for what is sacred is not about anger. It is about self-respect. It is about looking at your life and deciding what you will and will not accept anymore. That cabin taught me something important. You cannot control how others treat your heart, but you can always control whether you let them stay after they have broken it. Mom's cabin still stands in those Colorado mountains. The window has been fixed, the walls repaired. The grass is growing back where the cars tore it up. But the real repair that happened inside me, piece by piece, I am rebuilding what grief and poor boundaries had eroded. Learning to honor her memory by honoring myself. Sometimes the greatest inheritance is not what someone leaves you. It is learning when to fight for it, when to say enough, when to stand in your own power and refuse to be diminished. I still drive up once a month, still sit on that porch with coffee, still feel her presence in every beam and board. But now, I also feel my own strength, my own voice, my own boundaries solid as the mountains surrounding me. And that more than anything would make her proud. So, here's my question for you. Have you ever had to stand up for something that mattered deeply to you, even when family pressured you to let it go? Drop your story in the comments. I read every single one, and your experiences might help someone else going through the same thing. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear that it is okay to set boundaries. And subscribe because I share more stories about navigating family drama, protecting what matters, and finding strength you did not know you had. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope wherever you are surrounded by people who respect your boundaries and honor what is sacred to you. Take care of yourselves out there, and remember, some places are worth fighting for.